Welcome back everyone to AI or Not. This week we have amazing topics to cover. It's another exciting week in AI. Today we have with us, as always, our CEO and founder Toli. Toli, it's amazing to have you. We're going to talk about DeepSeek triggering Nvidia's biggest loss of $600 billion. We're going to talk about the White House being in conversations with several US investors and Oracle to take over TikTok. We're going to talk about French AI being wildly not right and the French government backing it. And finally, we're going to talk about Paul McCartney's take on AI and what he thinks should happen to it. So let's jump right in. Totally, I'm excited to talk about this, but it seems like yesterday a lot of stuff happened, but the biggest news was that Nvidia had its biggest loss ever of $600 billion that basically made the entire stock market crash. And it seems like it was due to a single Chinese company, DeepSeek.
Yeah, so it was quite an eventful day, even to the point that President Trump this morning went up and said DeepSeek, acknowledged them as innovators in the space, and actually said it's good for innovation and pushing AI forward and pushing the boundaries of building models more efficiently. So the backstory is DeepSeek is a Chinese model built by a team from a hedge fund in China, and they claimed to have trained DeepSeek R1 on a $5.6 million budget. And the results were that DeepSeek's R1 model was on par with that of OpenAI's best model, O1, and better than some existing ones on the market. So it was by far the best open source model, better than that of Llama's, and on par with the closed source ones. So from that, Nvidia tanked, as well as many of the other chip companies and technology companies in general. But Nvidia's drop of, I think it was 17% and $600 billion, which is a crazy number to say out loud, all because of this announcement. Personal opinion, I don't think everything is exactly how it seems. I think that this company DeepSeek, there's rumors, as mentioned by Scale AI's incredible CEO Alexander Wang, that they're rumored to have roughly 50,000 H100 Nvidia chips. So in plain speak, very powerful chips to do a lot of compute. And the cost of those chips is roughly $2 billion. So yep, maybe the $5.6 million to train the model was accurate. Maybe the electricity cost or the cost to just train that model. However, the hardware used is quite powerful. So they already had experience to do it and $2 billion worth of hardware to run it. So yes, $5.6 million is an incredible feat, but I don't think Nvidia losing $600 billion is the right analysis that came from it. I saw one take that Nvidia dropping because of advancements in AI. It's like if someone started betting against electricity because a new light bulb came out. So that's the comparison. Like, everyone still needs the chips to train the models. They've just proven that you can do it at a more cost-efficient way than the hundreds of billions that it's cost to build some of the closed source models. DeepSeek had just proven there's methods that can really reduce the cost to do it. However, you still need those chips, and dropping 17% for Nvidia because of this announcement is a little bit very extreme. However, it's not all positive news either, especially for that of many of the AI companies in existence today across the United States and other countries, like France actually has a few leading ones as well, because they did prove you can create incredible models without the multi-billion dollar, tens of billion dollars, or in the case of Stargate, $500 billion investment required to build these models. And if they prove that, what does that mean for the future of AI? Are we facing a made in China, future for all of AI use and development? The other part that DeepSeek did was they actually slashed the cost to use these models by somewhere in the neighborhood of 97 to 98% on a per query basis. So if you're doing ChatGPT asks, versus DeepSeek asks. DeepSeek is 97% off of the cost, and for consumers 100% free. So, and it's open source. So if a developer can take this model and use it for however they see fit. So what China did do is put a whole lot of pricing pressure, a whole lot of pressure on existing chat and LLM companies to, one, up their innovation game, and then two, compete on a different set of standards and features outside of price, because they're like, we're slashing everything. We want use. We want to own this market, and profit it comes second, but they're clearly playing the game. We want use. We want this to be forefront. And I also don't think it's accidental. The day that they announced it was the day that Stargate was announced. I do not think that was a coincidence either. And if you really read between the lines, like, what does the future hold for AI? Like, I think one really interesting comparison is what happened in manufacturing. So manufacturing, China cut the prices and took it for, like, essentially for the world. And now they own 31% of the world's overall manufacturing industry. And just for comparison, US is about 16%. If you think about that for a ratio, 31 versus 16 for AI, China versus America, I think that would be quite a devastating ratio for the GDP outlook of both of those, at least for the US, amazing outlook for China. And just another friendly reminder, yesterday I actually did go through the privacy policies and terms and conditions for DeepSeek, so you don't have to, Johnny and all the listeners. And it's not pretty. They log every keystroke, every word, every action that you make, and spoiler alert, every one of those servers is stored in the People's Republic of China. So even if you're using DeepSeek, and I recommend everyone takes a look, I wouldn't put in anything that you wouldn't want to post on social media. I wouldn't put in anything private. I wouldn't do anything crazy with it. If it's generic or you're writing a blog post, cool. But if you're trying to do like a healthcare ask, or you're like looking over to translate a contract, DeepSeek is not the model I would go to unless you're running an open source version of it on your own. So that's my 2 cents.
What does it mean when in such a big industry, a single company is able to bring down and make such a crash in a single day? What does it mean for America, for US, and for AI as a whole?
I think it just shows the pace of innovation and the speed of which AI is changing on a daily basis. Again, I think yesterday was a very negative outcome, for a lot of these companies, but I actually think in the next year, for the rest of 2025, the next 2 years, I actually think it's a net positive, because it pushes them further. It's like we have to up our game. This company just released a model that they claim to have trained for $5.6 million, though, like I covered, I think there's a little bit more cost behind it, maybe $2 billion worth more cost, but it does really force everyone to up their game. Like, they slashed the price, they open sourced it, meaning it's very developer friendly and you can build your own versions right on top of it, and they did it relatively quickly. So it really forces everyone to up their game. So the net outcome for yesterday and this week as a whole for technology companies publicly traded on the US stock market, not great, I'm not going to lie, but it puts a whole lot of pressure on the companies competing in this space. And that I think will create a lot of positive outcomes, for the future, because now it's like we got to up our game, right? No one can be stagnant. People are coming from all corners of the world, and they're gonna compete and outcompete in every which way that they can if we don't keep up. So overall, I actually think it'll provide a very positive outcome for us consumers, for companies using these tools, but for the companies competing in it, it's going to be a bloodbath, because it's going to be the fight is on model performance, on cost, on open sourcing and releasing all your hard work and code. So from there, it's going to be quite a battleground to see who's best. But for everyone else, it's going to be incredibly beneficial, and we will all see the benefits and from the pace of innovation that's happening.
Is this the battle? Do you think it's an overreaction? Or is this like very dramatic question? Is this the end of AI dominance in the US?
I think it's an overreaction to Nvidia. Going, wiping off 600 billion and 17% of their value, because to me, the model, everything they've shared doesn't say anything like we don't need chips anymore. It's quite the opposite. They still need NVIDIA chips to push this innovation forward. So to me, the overreaction is on NVIDIA and other chip companies that had a rough day yesterday. That's the overreaction. The underreaction is questioning why a lot of the technology companies with multiples of amount of money invested into them have not been able to accomplish this. So that's a conversation. That's a conversation. Like, how did this small ragtag team were able to, obviously incredibly talented team at DeepSeek, but how were they able to accomplish this when there's $500 billion projects for AI, and companies have raised tens of billions of dollars, and we have publicly traded trillion-dollar companies developing these tools, yet are not the leaders. That's a conversation. But NVIDIA and the chip companies plummeting like they did yesterday is 100% an overreaction, because nothing in what has been shared about this states like, hey, we don't need NVIDIA chips anymore. It's actually quite the opposite, and chips are still needed. But how well and efficiently do you use them for the money available? Like, that's definitely a conversation to be had.
Another thing that DeepSeek is now claiming is that its image generation model is also beating the rivals and staying up to par with other image generation. Is this just PR, or are they actually good?
I believe the name of the model was Janus, and they released vision and AI image generation tools. This is their first iteration, so if anything, I think it puts everyone on watch. So it's not the best, even in the open source world. Flux for image generation is still the leader in terms of quality. Stable diffusion is still quite popular for image generation. For vision tools, also, I don't think they're the best. Funny enough, it's a different Chinese model who's very, very good. Alibaba's Qwen model, Qwen is how you spell it. So it's another Chinese model in the open source vision world that's actually very good, ironically. But DeepSeek's right now are not the best. But however, DeepSeek R1, the model that is very good for their LLM, was not their first iteration. So if anything, it should put everyone else on notice. It's like, hey, we're planting the flag, we're coming. And like, you've seen our pace, you've seen how we work, you've seen how we approach this market, we're coming. So not the best, but I think it definitely should put everyone on notice of what they're capable of and how quickly they're capable of doing it.
And for us laymen here, what is the difference between AI image generation and vision models?
AI image generation is you type a prompt, it's like, I want to see a really cool picture of The Rock in a new movie or in a Marvel role, and it creates that. Or I want to see a piece of art, like something in the style of Van Gogh, and it'll create an image for you that you've imagined, that you did not create yourself, but with the help of AI, you're able to see it, and it's a lot of fun. My kids do it, my wife does it, I do it all the time. I do it for both the company and for fun, and for examples. But vision tools are a little bit different. Vision tools take the image as an input, meaning you submit an image and you ask the AI, hey, what do you think is happening here? So the example here is like, if you submit a piece of art and you're like, hey, which artist do you think drew this? Like, is this in the style of Van Gogh, or is this modern art? Or what do you think is happening here? Or you take a picture of a car and you're like, hey, what kind of car is this? Like, what do you see here? Is this a BMW? Is this a Rivian? Or whatever the case. And an example we've covered here before, it's actually the same kind of technology used in the medical profession. Like, here's this scan, or here are these MRI results. Tell me what you think. Personally, I've done this before too. I got blood work done, and you get all these numbers and all these like stats. I'm like, I don't know what this is on a line by line basis. I took a picture and I'm like, hey, AI, not DeepSeek. Hey, AI, what do you think is happening here, and how do I improve it if there's anything bad? So that's what vision does. It takes an image and it helps you decide what's happening here and ask questions about it, while image generation is creating a new image from scratch based on your imagination.
What if you grab an image and ask it to generate another image based on that first image? Is that a mixture of both?
Yeah, it is. It is. So what the AI model does, it creates a very detailed description of what this image is. You might not even see this, like, it's their chain of thought. So you might not even actually see it. It's happening in the background. You give it an image, let's say, give it a description, like the color scheme. Is it like photorealistic? Is it anime? Is it something else? And then it takes those details, and then it'll generate a new image based on that detailed description that it created from that image. So it's 100% a combination of those two things, and most of the image generators today have that capability. So they'll take in an image, and you can create like a mood board now. Like, for example, in Midjourney, you can create a mood board. It's like, hey, here's the images that I like based on this, sample size of 5 or 20, like in this style. Now I would like to create additional images that match this aesthetic, that match this style. So what the AI will do is take these images and describe the style, describe the color schemes, or anything else that it thinks it's relevant to create the new versions of it. And then it'll, take those detailed descriptions and start creating new ones. So it's 100%, you start off a combination of the both. So you take the vision capabilities to describe in detail what's happening, and then you take that detail to generate the new ones, plus your additional prompt. So a lot happening when we type in, 6, 10, 15 words.
And that's amazing when the AI is used in that positive direction. But another direction that we spoke of recently is when it's used for war, which is not pretty. And the news came out of the Pentagon that says that it's now using AI to basically speed up what they call the kill chain. Have you heard of it?
Yes. It is. I think it's already been happening before, but maybe not with AI this powerful. So the execution of, it's a crazy word, kill chain, which is identifying, tracking, and assessing threats, and then obviously, doing what needs to be done sometimes with it. And this has been done for a while before. The most famous example, probably in the last decade, was by the great AI company Palantir. Used a lot in defense systems. And that was the tool used to identify where bin Laden was hiding. And then eventually finding, capturing, and kill chaining him. So that's what was used. So now I think going back to just the pace of innovation in AI, it's these new versions of AI tools. So the government, I think, is just upgrading the tools that they have been using for their processes. But as far as AI in use for government defense, and as you mentioned, the kill chain, it's already been happening. It's just the level of power at their fingertips has just increased tremendously. And we discussed this on on a previous episode of how someone was able to take the OpenAI API, connect it to a robot, I think it was a paintball gun, and then have it track their hand and accurately shoot on command and hit the paintball at a certain target. So if someone's able to do this with tools that we have available, right at our fingertips, you can only imagine what the government has available at theirs.
Getting back to a more light topic, and something that shouldn't be given maybe to the French, is AI. Because as it seems, they've created a chatbot that was backed by the French government, and that wasn't too right. I've heard there were some cows laying eggs. Have you heard about this?
I've never heard of cows laying eggs, but I'm not up to speed on the latest academic research on farming. But yeah, I have a chatbot named Lucy, which I believe was a play on words as a different spelling than the Lucy from the movie Her. Like that was played by, well, the voice was played by Scarlett Johansson. And yeah, the chatbot acted out and provided some interesting answers. So a couple of things here. One, kudos for the government for like giving it a go, for the French government for giving it a try and trying to put something out there. So I always want to commend someone's, especially a government or large corporation's attempt at innovation. The second part, though, however, it highlights like we think of AI as smart. It's actually quite dumb. Like it's actually not smart at all. It can't tell the time if you take a picture of a watch. It can't, create an image for you of a full champagne glass, like as an example. Like there's some funny quirks to it, and apparently it doesn't know the difference between which animal lays eggs and which gives birth other ways. So it's actually quite dumb. It's able to follow instruction. It's able to do certain things, but it messes up a lot. So that highlights that, and also highlights the need of when you probably need some robust testing. Like I get it. I hope most people would understand that a cow does not lay eggs, but there's probably more serious things that it's messing up. Like there's a famous example where Google's AI actually recommended that pregnant women smoke 1 to 2 cigarettes a day, and this is recent. So there's if you start querying, if you start asking chatbots enough things, like it's gonna spit out some interesting results that are probably not great. And I do wanna say kudos to the government for trying to do this, but also shows like chatbots still need a lot of work. It still needs a lot of testing, and France is trying to innovate. Like they have their own LLM model, Mistral, that's in their country, but this is quite a comical example where like cows are laying eggs, but I'm sure there's if it's saying ridiculous things like that, I'm sure it's saying some ridiculous things that are not as funny and are probably detrimental, like in the case of like Google one time suggesting women should be pregnant women should be smoking cigarettes on a daily basis.
Did we talk about TikTok already?
Oh, TikTok. No, not today at least.
So TikTok, as it turns out, the story keeps on giving because the White House is now in conversations to have Oracle and other US investors take over the company. Do you think this can happen? I
do. And then let's rewind back a little bit. We already covered the fastest ever TikTok ban. I think it was 14 hours that was threatened right before the president's switched seats. So probably not a coincidence, but you never know. And now they are now they're finding a group of investors and the company Oracle to possibly take over TikTok's US operation. So we got to make sure we clarify, because TikTok is owned by ByteDance, which is a Chinese technology company, but there's a special US entity that runs TikTok in the United States. So why I do think this one has legs is because one, like who knows what Oracle does? Like I honestly, like it's a huge company, but I don't think most people can tell you what they do. They actually build old school like databases and servers like for banks and other like huge companies and governments. What does that have to do with short form dance videos? I have no idea. But I don't think if in their product meetings that they're thinking it's like, oh, we're building these things for government, we should probably also build some dance video platform. Like, I don't think that's a conversation that happens in Oracle. Why I do think that this has legs is very simple. Larry Ellison, who's the founder of Oracle, one of the top 5 richest people in the world, he was standing next to Donald Trump at the inauguration. Just speaking factually, so, the people that have been at those inaugurations, either getting $500 billion investments, are getting, and now, potentially, sweet deals to acquire platforms. And I get it from the government's perspective. There's some companies and people they probably trust a little bit more than others, and maybe that's the case. Like, we trusted in the hands of Oracle and Larry Ellison. Maybe that's the case. But I do think it has legs just because of the connection of this company's founder, and the new administration in the United States. Because clearly this is something that's being forced upon ByteDance. I don't think they have had any intention to sell it themselves, especially the U.S. operations. Like, we built it, we own it. I understand that. But I'm sure with the government pressure, as that 14-hour ban showed, like, the government does have power to determine certain things, and given the connections of Oracle to government, to the current administration, like, I think this one definitely has some legs, and there could be a lot of truth in this.
And it seems like TikTok maybe got caught in the middle of this battle between US and China for tech and AI dominancy. Do you think the White House is using TikTok as leverage?
I do. I like to think that it's twofold. So one, used for leverage and other parts in other negotiations. But two, I do like to think that the government has our best interests in mind. And the same thing we covered with DeepSeek. Like, when you go through the terms and conditions, and we track every stroke that you make, every search, everything you watch, everything you do. TikTok is no different, and a lot of that gets sent to China as well. And then with TikTok, like, they have all your contacts, they have your location, it's on your phone. We give all of that away for the sake of entertainment to all social media companies. It's just that all social media companies have been based primarily in the United States for all intents and purposes until TikTok. So, and I think the government I'm assuming, had some concerns about that, just like I'm sure they do with DeepSeek and other, foreign tools. I think that's a part of it, and then the second part is the negotiation pieces as well. So, but I like to think maybe foolishly, but I still like to think that the people's best interests are at heart here, and because of the privacy concerns, and because like you mentioned before, no one's reading those terms and conditions. I admittedly did not read TikToks when I downloaded it either, but the government has some concerns about where that information is going, what's being tracked, and if they have consumer preferences of everyone in the United States, as well as all locations of everyone in the United States, there might be some things that are not great about that, in the future. So I think all of it plays a role, and I think it actually gives more fuel for the fact that a company who's in with the current administration will be the buyer of this platform.
We'll have to wait and see what happens. And talking about a music platform, we have Paul McCartney, who recently gave an interview talking about AI ripping off artists. And so I wanted to get basically the gist of the interview and what your take is on it.
Sir Paul McCartney is one of the original members of the Beatles. So incredible artist, has been around for a long time. And kudos for him for being so knowledgeable of what's happening in the world of music, in the world of AI, and AI music as well. And he has concerns about proposed changes to copyright law that would allow technology to, take the works of musicians and artists for the sake of innovation and building AI. So he had concerns that an artist would have to actively opt out to not have their music trained for AI models. So this, like, his concern where, it's already hard for a musician to make a living. It's already hard, like, streaming platforms pay, fractions of pennies. Outside of the largest artists, most artists are making money through touring and live performances. And his concern was, it would take the motivation out of new artists to create music themselves, to write music themselves, because AI can do it and arguably could do it better if there's no protections, and if there's no protections in place. Personal opinion, I don't think AI can make the next Beatles song. I don't think AI can create like a new genre like so many artists have done. AI takes what it hears and then recreates it. And different versions and different iterations of it, but it's not going to create the next beautiful album. It's not going to create the next Abbey Road. It's not going to do those things. Like it's going to take pieces of that and try to recreate it slightly differently. Where I think he does have a point, and he has a quote. You get young girls coming up, and they write a beautiful song, and they don't own it. So there is a point there to be made, and I think there is something there with who owns the rights and who owns the actual music. But I do think those young artists or old artists, whichever artists, should own their likeliness and their voice. Like, I don't think it would be right for AI to try to create like Beatles music from scratch, as an example. Like, I don't think it's right if they take if an AI was just trained, for example, on the entire Beatles discography and was able to just keep, creating new versions of Abbey Road and new songs. So there, I don't think is right, because you're misinforming people and you are using an artist's likeliness. However, I do think there is incredible uses for AI in music. It creates a lower barrier to, like, if you're an artist and you want to be a singer, like, now you don't need to produce a song. Like, you can just have AI create a beat or have AI create like a hook and you're just singing over it. And I think that's really beautiful. I think that's really great. Or say you're a musician and you're creating like EDM beats and you want a female voice to sing the hook, and you use AI to create that hook instead of trying to find a singer. Like, I think that's awesome too. And even in the same interview, this is the funny part to me, in the same interview, Sir Paul and the Beatles actually admitted to using AI to extract the vocals from an unfinished demo by John Lennon to produce the song Now and Then. It's the song was actually nominated for Grammys, and he actually says, I think AI is great. It does a lot of great things. So my question is, like, I hate to say it, but how do you think that great AI was created? It was created using real music, but it wasn't used to create a brand new Beatles song from scratch. It was used taking an old cassette of an old demo to clean up the voice, to clean up some of the noise around it, and then used to create an amazing track that otherwise wouldn't have happened. And I think that's a beautiful use of AI without affecting an artist's ability to make money or create new art or have their likeliness used by someone else without authorization. And I don't think those things are good, but this use case, even said by Sir Paul himself, was amazing and created a brand new piece of art, a brand new piece of work that was loved by fans all over the world and nominated for 2 Grammys. So I think there's a lot to unpack there on AI audio. I agree that certain rights about artists' likeliness and their music should be protected. However, to create these new versions of AI, no matter if it's music, video, images, or even writing, it does require existing pieces created by humans to then be able to train the AI. But then what you get on the other side could very well be beautiful, just like with the song Now and Then.
We have a hard time understanding with AI, you don't get the good without the bad, you get the whole package. What if we become so AI dependent that our creativity starts to die?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I think you are right though. Going back to the point we made about the French chatbot, like AI in itself is stupid. Like if you go to ChatGPT and you don't say anything, is it going to say anything to you? Like it doesn't know. It doesn't know. like the outputs are only as good as the inputs. So like whatever you type, how descriptive you want to make it, the closer it is, you'll receive back, to what you actually wanted. In fact, in a lot of ways, I actually think AI has made me a better writer, because the more descriptive I'm able to write the inputs, or the prompts, as we like to call them, the better the results are. So I've actually spent more time like thinking through, like say, like product requirements or a picture that I want to see and being very descriptive of it that otherwise I probably wouldn't even put into words. So it almost like clarifies my thinking as I'm putting it down in writing. So if we lose that, and we're not able to compose our thoughts in a clear, concise way, then you're right. AI is going to be just as useless as when you open the browser and you're staring at a blank prompt, like nothing's happening. So if it's garbage in, garbage out. But if you give it really clear thought and you give it really clear directions, and there is creativity in there, then I think you can get some really amazing outputs back. And whether it's music, writing, or advice, or exercise advice, I've used all of it, but the key point is being very descriptive of like, here's what I am, here's my age, like here's that, or in the case of music, like here's the kind of music I want to create. Like I want it to be rock with like a flair of EDM, or I want it to be jazz with a flair of hip hop or something like that. And then you start giving it even additional descriptors of the kinds of artists that you want, or the kind of music, or even the note that you want, dominantly in there. I think you will get some really amazing pieces of art. But if you come in there and say like, hey, write me something, or hey, I want a new jazz song, like I don't think you're gonna get anything good. So you're right, you still need creativity just to interact with the AI, but I think the combination of both human plus the AI can create some really amazing things, given it's used in the right way.
It seems like AI is not a creation tool, it is an enhancement tool. So it can actually leverage and expand our creativity in great ways. It's just a matter of us adapting and being able to interact with AI in a way that we can express our thoughts and feelings.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Maybe it's my optimistic view, but I don't think AI replaces humans for everything. I think it just makes us more creative, more productive, and allows us to do more in less time. So I don't think it replaces us, because again, like what's AI without any instruction? It's cows laying eggs or a blank screen. So but with humans and using these powerful tools, just like we've done, with phones, with computers, with the internet, now in the hands of our creativity, which is what we're best at. Not remembering things, it's creating things. It's not remembering facts. We just regurgitated those on college and high school exams. It's being creative and creating new things, new companies, new pieces of content, new ideas. That's where humans thrive. And combining where AI thrives with what humans thrive, I think that's the magical combination that hopefully we'll be seeing every single day in the future.
A glimpse of hope. Sometimes it can seem that AI is taking us to a dark path, but it's always amazing having conversations with you, knowing that there's so much hope for good things that can be achieved with AI, and I have to agree with you. Everyone, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be here next week. Talk to you soon.